Thank you again for joining me this morning. Really appreciate you taking time out of your day. Just a bit of an intro about myself. So I'm Michelle. I'm a supply chain specialist here at 3D Logistics. I also help looking after the business development side of things. Before joining the tech world, I actually spent over a decade managing warehouse operations myself. And honestly, that's the part I loved most was it wasn't the quiet days, it was the chaos, the morning where everything went sideways and you had to figure it out really, really fast. There's a satisfaction in that, and in seeing a problem clearly and solving it before it really takes down the day gives me a lot of pleasure. And yeah, what I didn't love about when I was working in logistics was that the same problems kept coming back. And the reason is because we were fixing the symptoms and not really the system, which is what brought me to 3D logistics. So it's that same problem solving instinct, but now instead of fixing one warehouse at a time from the inside, I get to help operations fix their problems permanently. That sense of, right, we've sorted it, that a sense of accomplishment. I get that every single time a customer goes live and their floor stops depending on one person. So yes, that's a little bit about me. Just regarding a bit of housekeeping rules, please just, pop questions in the chat. Really encourage you to ask whatever questions come up. If it's something resonates, just please drop it in the chat and we'll discuss it at the end of the webinar. So when I say I've lived what we're about to talk about, I really, really mean it. So let's get into it. So a scenario that has honestly been an issue throughout a decade of my life is your stock controller calls in sick. It's 6:45, things need to start happening, and you freak out. You get that call, they're sick, you know that they're the one that knows where everything is. They know when things have been moved. They understand how picks are sequenced, which bays got reshuffled last week. They're the ones that live and know and breathe the warehouse floor, and you're now stuck. You're in a situation and you might get a few gray hairs from that, but you kind of figure it out. Your morning team is on the floor and nobody can tell them what to do. So this is not a horror story. It's nothing I've just made up. This happens in warehouses every single week. And I know because I've been the one standing in that car park trying to figure out who to call. Like, this isn't just an inconvenience. Like, the whole shift hangs on one person's knowledge. It's unfortunate that it becomes that, and you kind of rely on that person all the time, and you can have as many plan B, C, Ds as you want. You still somehow automatically rely on that one person, and this is when things get affected. An example in my past is, I would try and cross skill and, really try and get people involved on the floor with the stock controller for when things like this happen. But again, it doesn't happen every single day. People forget. It's not really a solution to just try and take shortcuts or have quick fixes. It really does become a problem long term. So what actually breaks? What actually happens? Sorry about that. What actually happens? What actually breaks? What is the issue? So firstly, when your person who knows where everything is not in today, your picks automatically slow down. Like, that's just obvious. The team reverts to guesswork because obviously the whole routing logic and the knowledge was in one person's head. Secondly, errors climb silently. Less experienced pickers guess locations. They guess which inventory to pick. They might pick a black item instead of the white item, but it's the same item. Those mistakes show up only when the client calls. So when you're on the floor, you thinking your operation is running, things are happening, stock is being picked, clients are getting their orders, and that's all fine and well until the customer calls and says they've got a black item instead of a white item. Replenishment stalls. So when you've got that person on the floor that have that natural instinct and knowledge to say, hold up, we're running low. We need to make sure that reorder point is triggered, taking into account supplier lead times, minimum stock thresholds, all that kind of thing happens from a stock controller generally if there's no system. And if only one person manages all of that and they're not there, this stops. And then you've got the knock-on effect. Orders delay, the margins erode, the damage isn't just right now today. Like I said, it ripples through. Clients call, they're unhappy. You have to do a resend. It costs money. It's all a problem later on, even though you're thinking you're managing right now. It isn't worth not having safety nets or systems or proper structure in place. So the cost of one bad sick day is really just one bad sick day. Again, like, we took talking sick day, but I mean, it could be someone on leave, it could be someone that's had an accident, it could be someone that just decided they're not doing this anymore and they decide to leave. The concept remains the same, that if one person has got all this, what we call tribal knowledge, and you're relying on that one person, you've got a problem. So what most teams think versus what actually is. Most teams respond to this by doing one of three things. So they either hire a backup, they do some cross-script training, which I mentioned earlier, or they write a procedures manual. All of those feel productive. You might feel like you being proactive and trying to put those safety nets into place, but here's the problem. So the operation was never designed to work without that person. All the critical knowledge, so the pick knowledge, the layout changes, the priority decisions, that all lives in someone's head. A procedures manual doesn't change that. By you writing down what needs to be done and what one person knows and hoping someone reads it in a crisis, like that is a systems problem. That requires a systems solution. The systems problem or systems solution is the whole pivot. You need to understand that it's not the person's fault for having all the knowledge. It's you as a business owner's fault for relying on a person to have all the knowledge. If you've been running an SME warehouse, you've probably looked at a warehouse management system at some point. You've probably landed in one or two places. So either the enterprise systems are too big and too expensive, which, I mean, built for a logistics team with a dedicated admin and a 6-month implementation runway is just too extreme, or you're still handling your work on spreadsheets and whiteboards, which works fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that, especially when the operation was smaller, but it can't handle certain features and functionalities such as live picking and real-time tracking or layout changes or replenishment triggers, that is where that gap comes in. So both extremes leave you relying on key individuals in essence. And that's the gap. That is what 3D logistics was built to fill. So what is 3D logistics? Like 3D logistics is the warehouse management system built specifically for SMEs and their operations. Without the enterprise complexity, without the need for a dedicated admin, without the key person dependency. We're going to look at three things: how guided picking works, what the live 3D view actually gives you, and what shift independent operations actually means in practice. So imagine your newest team member walks onto the floor on their very first shift. So no briefing, no training, nothing. No 2-hour walkthrough with the stock controller, all right? The system tells them exactly where to go, what to pick, in what order, and then it verifies that what they've picked is actually correct. They perform at a comparable accuracy to your most experienced picker from day one, just by having our system. The system guided workflows replace that tribal knowledge, that institutional knowledge that used to sit in one person's head. So when someone calls in sick, you don't need to worry about what am I going to do or a 2-hour briefing. You just need to pull your best person off their work to babysit the temp, and the temp follows the system. This is what guided picking does. Critically, absences, whether sick, on leave, whatever, someone leaving the company, absences stop crippling the operation. The knowledge is therefore in the system and no longer in someone's head, which means it's not on holiday. So if you had to run a warehouse with high turnover or seasonal staff, how much time would you actually spend onboarding people? And I think that is one of the biggest challenges when it comes to scaling, needing more people, the hassle that comes with that, the training that comes with that, the time that comes with that. It makes it a very hard decision, because you kind of want to work without that extra resource just because of that training and time that needs to be spent with them. Whereas with 3D logistics, you don't have to do that. Our onboarding is easy. Our UI is clean. It's intuitive. It's made for people, not just for to look nice or for the financial controller at the end. It's made for people who need to use it every single day. How do you know, like if you have to think now, how do you know what's happening on your floor right now? So for most operations, the answer is probably you don't really. You're trusting that everyone is doing what they need to do, or you walk onto the floor and have a squiz and see what's going on, or you're calling your supervisor to just get a bit of a check-in, see how everything's going, or you simply wait for someone to come to you and tell you when there's a problem. Again, perfectly fine if that's how you operate, but it's a very reactive way of managing a warehouse and your operations. 3D logistics gives you this real-time interactive 3D view of your entire warehouse. So what you see on the screen here, you would be able to see where a person is on the floor, what they're currently picking, what sales order they're picking. You've got an entire view of the warehouse. You also have a view of which bays are full, which ones are running low, if anything needs attention. So yeah, where your team is picking the stock, what's moving, it updates live as the stock moves. This isn't a static floor plan. This is a live, emphasis on the live, digital twin of your operation. Again, two audiences benefit from this. So managers get oversight without this micromanagement. Floor staff get clarity without having to stop the process, waste time, and ask questions. Both ways, both benefit. It's effective, it's efficient, it's proactive. It just makes sense. I mean, if I have to just think the amount of hours I used to spend walking on the floor, doing damage control, seeing stuff all over the show, packers wondering where their stock is. Meanwhile, it's already been issued, but they don't know where it is. Things aren't in their place. Packing mistakes happen because they think they've packed something, but they actually haven't, or the wrong item gets packed. It's chaos. It's absolutely chaos. It doesn't do anyone any justice. I'm a wreck. Your staff are a wreck. Your clients aren't happy. It's really just not worth having this chaos if you can control it. And like I'm trying to explain here, 3D Logistics can help you control all of this. So Monday, full team, everything is great, happy days. Tuesday, your stock controller or one of your key people are absent. Either way, you've got the same output. So yeah, stock controller on the floor, a full picking team, all workflows running versus a stock controller called in sick. 3D Logistics guides the floor, all workflows are still running. The difference that changed is one person. The result didn't change because the institutional knowledge is no longer in their head, it's on the system. This is the core promise of our product and the whole point of our webinar. So, outcomes, real world outcomes. You've got faster onboarding. Your new starter is contributing from their very first shift, not on their first month. With 3D Logistics, you simply add an additional user from the solution. You don't need to get an extra license and wait for a few hours before that person has a login or credential. They get it within minutes. They can download our native app on your phone, Android or iOS. They put in their details and they've onboarded literally within minutes. Reduced error picks. So with the guided workflows, it takes the guesswork out. The mispicks, the misplacements, the drops, the repicks, all of that is time and money. And with that, you've got issues with customers, with trust, with costs. It really got a very big snowball effect on everything. And if you can control it, you're obviously going to want to control it. Then operational continuity. So the warehouse runs to the same standard, whether you a full staffed Monday or a short staffed Tuesday, like things remain the same. Processes are in place. Systems are easy and intuitive to use. You know what to do. You pick up where people left off. The operation isn't standing at a halt and things can continue. That is what we are trying to achieve here and bring to the SME world. Your lower management overhead also becomes visible. So supervisors stop, problems instead of them stopping or directing traffic or trying to do the work that actually should be someone else's work. Like instead of them doing damage control, that's what I'm trying to say. Instead of them stopping their normal work, where they need to focus and where their expertise lie, they end up spending all their time and effort on the floor. That can stop. They can stop with this whole damage control all the time and actually spend their time where their expertise is needed. So who's this for? Again, as I've mentioned, 3D Logistics is built specifically for the SME warehouse operators. If you're recognizing yourself in any of these, like this is for you. As much as we've got the digital twin and we've got all these advanced features that come from tier 1 type of enterprise warehouse management systems, it doesn't mean you need to use it, and it doesn't mean that our solution is too advanced for you. We can keep on or switch off whatever features you need, but what we can tell you is with our digital twin, with all the features that come by having a digital twin, like the guided picking, packing, put away, the visibility that you're seeing on the warehouse floor, those are the things that make any company operate better, specifically the SMEs. You need that help. You want to be efficient from day one. You want to have costs on the low end. So please don't feel that because we've got all these amazing and advanced features that you need to be a big company. That is not the point. So if you're a small team and you have very concentrated knowledge, so 1 or 2 people are carrying most of the knowledge on the floor and know what's happening, then we are for you. If you've looked at enterprise warehouse management systems, but they're too complex or too expensive, or implementation time is too intense, or both, or everything of the above, 3D Logistics is for you. If you're working on spreadsheets or whiteboards, you don't really have a system, things are working, but it would be better to have a system, and you know that once you start scaling, a system in place now would benefit you in the long term, then it's for us. And then again, like if you've lived in the opening scenario of your stock controller calls in sick, what now? You know that this is going to happen again. It doesn't just happen once off. Things happen, life happens, people leave, people get sick, people forget things, there's just a lot that happens in life, and you can't just rely on tribal knowledge. You'd like to think that you can. You've probably managed for a long time with the way you have been, and that's perfectly fine. But again, there's no guarantee that you can work around that every single time or mitigate it completely if you don't get a system of some sort. So yes, if that's for you, I encourage reaching out to me. We can do a demo, can do a personalized demo, not just a generic walkthrough, but a session built around your layout, your workflow, that type of thing. So if your warehouse depends on who shows up today, just remember that is a systems problem and it is solvable. We started this morning at 6:45 with a phone call that nobody wants to get, and the difference between that phone call ruining your whole week or the day and it being a major inconvenience or a minor inconvenience, that is whether you've built the operation to run without that person, and that's what 3D Logistics does. So yes, that's basically us in a nutshell, why we have built 3D Logistics, why we feel that it's important to have such a solution. If anyone has any questions, please pop them into the chat. I see there's a couple already. I'll get to them now, but yeah, please just pop them in the chat and then we can handle them. Awesome, thank you. Okay, here's a question. We really are a small team, and it does feel that this could be too complex for us. Like, would it be too complex? So again, as I've mentioned, it's actually the opposite is true. That we were built specifically because enterprise systems are too complex for SMEs. Like not just the price point and that kind of thing, but the actual system is just too complex. You need a dedicated admin required, whereas we wouldn't. We've got the visual factor, which a lot don't have. So yeah, the guided picking really means that even a first day team member can operate the solution. If anything, smaller teams would benefit more because the dependency risk is higher. So yes, definitely, if you're a small team, this is not too complex for you. It's quite the contrary. Another question is, our team is resistant to new technology. What can we do about that? Okay, so as I've mentioned earlier, we've actually built the solution with a very clean UI. So the interface is very modern, it's very clean, it's very intuitive. So it doesn't look like it comes from 1996 Matrix with all those green, coding kind of view. It's not that at all. It's very simple to use. It's very easy to use. And you can also use it on any device. So if your team have handheld scanners already and devices, they can use that. But if not, you can literally download the app on your phone. You can get cheap phones from JV Hi-Fi and just keep them on standby. Whatever you need to do, whatever's cheapest, whatever's simplest, we allow that to happen. And with that, the whole sort of resistant to new technology issue fades away. So that they don't need to learn, the floor staff won't need to learn a whole new system. It's intuitive, the system will tell them what to do. And the learning curve of this system and solution and the new technology around it is actually minimal by design. I've got another question here. We've already got a warehouse management system. Why would we switch? Interesting question. Look, like, I think it's just worth exploring what's working and what is not. If you've already solved the whole key person dependency problem, then that's great. Like, I mean, you don't need to switch. But if you are still relying on one or two people to keep the system running, then it might be worth a conversation. I think the whole digital twin technology factor that we've got in our solution is also a bit of a game changer. Usually a warehouse management system tells you what you've got and how much you've got, but it doesn't tell you where it is, where your staff are, what they're currently busy with, if there's any bottlenecks on the floor from a visibility point of view. So again, not saying that you need to move to 3D logistics, but if those are concerns or areas that you would want improvement on, then, like I say, it might be worth having that conversation. I've got another question that's come through. What does 3D logistics integrate with in terms of other systems? Sure. So 3D logistics can be used as a standalone. We've got accessibility to create sales orders, purchase orders, work orders, your customers, your suppliers, all of that can be used within the solution as a standalone. But we do integrate with most other like systems. So from a financial ERP point of view, we can integrate with the likes of Xero, Amayop, Acumatica, NetSuite, SAP, all of those type of ERPs we can integrate with. If there are any others, like we would be able to integrate with, if we haven't already. From an e-commerce point of view, your WooCommerce and your Shopify, we integrate with those. So as a sales order gets created or someone purchases something online, it immediately comes through to 3D Logistics. You've got the visibility, and then your picker can start picking the stock with the guided picking, the scan to verify, and do the whole pick, pack, ship process within the solution. So we integrate with the e-commerce. And then we also integrate with 3PLs like your MacShip, StarShipIt, those shipping platforms. So as you're doing your pick, pack, ship, you can select which courier you want to use, which rate you're going to go with or service, and you would then print your shipping label or label directly from the device. So yeah, essentially we're able to integrate with any platform you're on. Even if it isn't something we haven't done before, we would integrate with that specific platform for you. But like I said initially, we're also able to use the solution as a standalone if you wish to. And yes, that's it. Any more questions, anyone? Alrighty, that seems to be it. Thank you so much once again for taking the time out of your day to see me, to hear me, to learn a little bit more about 3D logistics. Again, just to wrap it up, we're not saying that you need to have the solution. It's entirely up to you. But what we are saying is that there are benefits to having a solution like ours, to have a more proactive approach, the visibility, the control. It really does make a big difference in the warehouse. It also makes a difference for staff that they know what they're doing, keeps the motivation high. So there's a lot of benefits with having a system like this, and then long term to be able to scale later on and already have a solution in place that you know it works, that allows you to scale efficiently and effectively. Then I would say it's worth having a chat to me and looking further into our solution. So thank you so much. Hope you have a great day and hope to see you in a webinar next time. Thank you.